definitely appreciating our fathers right here on the show. It is a new day. And of course, we are live on Ebru TV. My name is Aziza Hashim. And as we know, quite short of vitu in advance. Father's Day is on Sunday, but sisi tumeamua, why don't we appreciate our fathers from way before, because they deserve it. We're celebrating our fathers today right here on the show, and the conversation that we're having today is also centered on appreciating the amazing people that guide the light on our paths. It is our fathers. And to be a part of the conversation and appreciate your father as well, let us know how they've impacted your life. And unfortunately, if your father is still not alive yet, you have a father figure. You might have a brother, you might have any man who has impacted your life and is a father figure. Or maybe you're an aspiring father, or you have a boyfriend who's an aspiring father as well. Why don't you shout them out right here on the show, and we'll be appreciating them, kabisa. And to do that is pretty simple, easy kapizi. 0770-729-366 is my WhatsApp number. Reach out to me, let me know, send in those paragraphs. 0115-885-797 is the number where you can call in live. Also, you can reach out to us everywhere across our social media platforms at Ebru TV Kenya, except for Facebook, which is Ebru TV KE. Official hashtag is New Day. So let's get to it. Get on your keyboard, get on typing. It's all about appreciation. It's all about celebrating our dads. And right here on the show, I have two amazing dads, but also they are career men, and we appreciate them massively, as we say on this show, right? But let me introduce them. The first one seated right next to me is Samson Mung'athia. He is a dad. He's also a motivational speaker. Karibu sana to the show.
Thank you very much.
How do you feel?
Quite good. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the opportunity to share with people there about Father's Day.
Yeah. And today is Friday. We have the weekend. Saturday, we have Father's Day on Sunday. Maybe some plans that you have for the weekend.
Basically, I think for me, being a dad also, for me, I have a dad as well. So I will be celebrating him. He's far away in the up country. Of course, maybe a call and some pleasantries here and there. But basically, also being a dad, I will also be celebrating with my family the entire Sunday after church, and just for some out and a few things in there just to celebrate the Father's Day with the rest of the family.
Absolutely beautiful. And we also have Fred Abok, who's a counseling psychologist, family therapist. How are you doing, Fred?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
You're also radiating a lot of good vibes. You see the way when someone talks to you and they're smiling, it radiates nothing short of good vibes.
Oh, true. I think fathers need to be celebrated every day. There shouldn't be a particular day meant on for them.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ebru TV, that we can actually be able to celebrate our journey. That by the time we're reaching climax on a Sunday, we'll actually be on top of things, because fathers do a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a father. Of course, I lost my father last year.
I'm so
but of course,
sorry
it's
about
just
that.
the deep wisdom that comes from a father. Fathers don't need to sit you down like a teacher to teach you something. But of course, when you rub on shoulders with them, there is always a nugget of wisdom that overflows naturally. Because the deepness of love in them. So I really appreciate for the opportunity to just diagnose this as we talk about fathers.
Amazing, fantastic. And lazima nikuulize hii swali before we even go to the Father's Day conversation, or basically celebrating our fathers. You are a dad. Saturday na Sunday, uko nyumbani, I bet.
Yes.
Yeah, so what are your plans? Kuna ka surprise pali yenye unanusia, or what is happening?
You know, I've been celebrating people. There's not my time to be celebrated.
Yes, kabisa.
So, of course, you know I'm fun to be around, because I like driving around, taking guys for a bike ride out. I like nature, so I like visiting animals. You know, Mama makes on some meals. We get on the park. I just eat and around the park, even as we watch animals. So I love nature. I'm not so much on the movie side.
So there's going to be a lot of nature.
There's going to be a lot
of
of
good
nature,
food from Mama at home.
Yes.
I can't wait. It sounds absolutely beautiful. Oh, nasema I can't wait ni kama hata nitakuwa. Anyway, ni sawa tu. Unajua ni
by osmosis.
I'll be there in spirit.
Oh,
yeah. But anyway, as we talk about our fathers, A father plays a very, very important role in all of our lives. I know my dad is very close to me, and I can only imagine the number of times that he's done or gone out of his way to ensure that we have the best of the best. But now, what does fatherhood mean to you?
For me, fatherhood means one thing: responsibility. And this is the biggest thing for me. Of course, it means a lot of other things. But fatherhood is a responsibility. Responsibility in that you have children you have to bring up, you have people you have to take care of, and you have to ensure that they grow up well. So once you're a father, in as far as it's a good title, a nice title, it also comes with responsibility. And therefore it translates to you have become a father, you should be responsible, knowing that people depends on you and their life, their future is in your hands. So to me, one word, responsibility.
Yeah. And basically, Fred, what does it entail to be a dad? I know I will never get to have that feeling to be a father because I can only get to be a mom. But you play a lot of roles as a father. What does it mean? What does it entail to be a father?
Oh, great. Many things entail to be a father, but of course, allow me to narrow it down on three. Is the father is a prince. He is the significant, undisputed figure in the house, in that it shows on the sense of belonging, it shows on the sense of security and sense of protection in them. But of course, the father is a priest. A priest is a shepherd, you know, he looks after, and that's why some sort is saying, you know, responsibility. You provide for your family. It's a responsibility of a father to make sure that the families are taken care of materially, socially, emotionally, and all this. But of course, lastly, a father is a prophet. A father calls out, you know, a father looks at a child and say, you are a lawyer, you are a CEO, you are an MP, you're what, and whatever the father calls you, you become, you know, because, you know, it's from a father. So the father has a way of seeing your future in the presence, and, you know, he calls the things which are not there as if they are. And so, you know, some of us, we are nicknamed engineers, we are nicknamed prophets, we were nicknamed great people by our fathers. And so we begin to strive and work towards those because our father prophesied. They get to see who we are and begin to mold us into those elements. And so fathers are very important because those roles cannot be played by an uncle, they cannot be played by a mother, they can only be played by a father.
Exactly. And that is why we're celebrating our fathers today. But you've talked about the sense of responsibility, the sense of security. Those are some of the expectations that we have of our fathers to do for us. But now, do you feel that society actually strains our fathers a lot out of this many expectations, or it's just okay?
One, I think we have to look at fatherhood as an evolving kind of target or a goal, because what a father was like maybe when I was growing up may not be exactly what my children expect from me, what I could expect from my father, of course, based on how social dynamics are. But again, also, fatherhood, as I said, is a responsibility, and I believe also society plays a key role. Of course, like I've said, I believe that we are stretching also a lot, but then again, that stretching comes is part of the responsibility. So I don't believe, again, that you should give up because, you know, the society expects this or that. One thing I will say is that there being a pressure, you have to set also your own limits, your boundaries. What are your expectations of yourself as a father? For example, I'm bringing up a boy and a girl. How do I want them to grow knowing their father is? How would I like them to shape their families? Because, of course, at the end of the day, they will borrow some values from me, of course, from the society, and then merge them for their own future. So the pressure is there, yes, but again, as a dad or as a father, you have to set your own limits and your own boundaries for how you're going to raise your own family.
Yeah, and maybe just sticking right there with you, you're a dad. So as you're fulfilling some of these responsibilities or just basically providing for your family, providing that security, what goes into your mind as you do that? Because I always like to understand how babangu anafikiriaje akifanya hizo vitu zote. How does it feel?
One, it feels great. It's a blessing. It's a position that I think I decided I admire being there, of course, because I've been there. And I know it's a great opportunity, of course, that we're granted to bring up somebody, to shape up somebody's life. So at the end of the day, whatever I do, wherever I go, I have some sense of pride knowing that I'm shaping somebody's destiny, who is not just in the outside, but somebody who I have to take care of from maybe a young age and ensure that I show them the way direct them, protect them, provide for them, all that. So it's responsibility that comes with some sense of satisfaction, content, and pride. Yeah.
And now maybe to you, because both of you are dads, I was speaking to a friend of mine before I came here, and he was describing how it felt when he held his child for the first time. In your own words, when you held your first child for the first time, whereby you're transitioning from just being a man, an ordinary man, and now to a father, how did it feel?
There is a sense of pride. And you will know, you will agree with me, Aziza, that every pride comes with a pain, because there is no glory without a story. And for thus much, just as women will wail in the maternity ward and promise how they will never give birth to another baby, but of course the next time, when they see the baby growing up, there is a joy that comes on with them and a pride. So same on to a father that, you know what, I'm getting into a responsibility that could be tougher than me, but the pride of giving somebody an opportunity and shepherding them into a man of significance gives you the pride out of it. That's why when you take loans to take children to school, we do not murmur around it and complain to the children, but we are doing it as a result of the pride that comes on with it, because every pride has its pain. There can never be a pride without a pain. And so that pain is what brings on the pride with it. And so that significance of, holding on your child does not just comes with the taking photos and selfies, but comes with the significance of responsibility and endurance together with it.
Yeah. I know for every human being, it's never a smooth sailing. Everything that you think about being so beautiful, lazima kuna changamoto pale hivo. You said there can never be pride without pain. During that aspect of pain, what keeps you going as a dad? Why do you do the things you do? Like, what's the reason?
Wow. I think what makes me do that is the element of significance, because I am undisputed individual. That's the prince in me, that I'm doing this, what no one else can be able to do. No one else can actually be able to stand in the gap of a father when a father is gone. Others can try, but they can actually not be able to reach on the limits of being that. So I do it significantly, that, just like Martin Luther King said, that, we may not have power to overcome, but, if you're a sweeper and you're given an opportunity to sweep until someone said, they are leave the sweeper. They are leave the father in me, that, when I'm present, they know, fathers need to, you do not need to tell your kids that you've arrived. There's even a way a father opens a door, and there is a smell that comes on with it that say, even if they're asleep, they say, oh, daddy has arrived. Guys got to wake up and say, you know what, it doesn't matter what time you're waking up tomorrow, but we got to wake up and greet this man, because the significance of that particular person, you comes on being a father.
Yeah. I remember still speaking to that friend that I was talking to. He told me that what makes him most happy about being a dad is when your child tells you they love you. Yeah. For you, is it the same, or what makes you most happy about being a dad?
For me, many things as well, but that's one of them. When you coming home at the end of the day, maybe you have just been out for a number of days, you come back and, they jump over you, they argue at times. And you look at them, you see the happiness in them. That makes me feel good inside my heart. Again, there is also the element of socialization. You sit down with them there, they are very genuine, asking very genuine questions. They may look some very stupid questions. Interaction with them, like at times we take a walk, we are just walking out there, nature walk, and they will ask you many questions that will also remind you of your past. So I think that joy that comes with conversing with them, their innocence, that just being around them makes me feel good, feel happy, and I'm just content around them.
Yeah. And I know for other people, unfortunately, they might not get the opportunity or the privilege to have to experience what you experience or what your children experience from having that dad who's there. So how important is it to have not only just a dad who's related to you biologically, to have a father figure in your life?
Very important, because when you have a father figures are meant to shape up and to build you within a structural formulation, so that you can be able to get an expectant end. And so in African society, we are communal in nature. And that's why a long time, you know, the digital world has actually spoiled up things, but long time, a father figure could see you do a mistake and he got a permission to punish you without consulting your parents. Why? Because he's playing that role, knowing very well that someone else will also play the role for their children. So father figures are needed in the society that has actually been rampant by waywardness of the society. When you look at what's happening today, Aziza, if someone who's in an age of being a father can rape a child, we are in a society that needs to come back to itself and recognize that if you are a man, you are born, created, and masculine for responsibility. And that responsibility that not dictate where you are or whoever you are, it's something that needs to resonate inside your heart. That wherever you go, you walk on the way and you see a child is going wayward, take responsibility. You get into an institution and things are not going on right. Don't wait to be told to take a responsibility, because that's what we are created for. The reason why we are not wearing dress, we are wearing trousers, is because it's something that is unique with us. And that uniqueness must come out. Yeah.
And in case you're back at home and as the conversation inaendelea, kwa sababu we have to keep it on and going, I want you to do one thing for me. I want you to appreciate your dad. If you have his name, if you have his name, first of all, why don't you send us his name, and at the end of the show, we're going to shout them out and appreciate them. And in case you have their photos, send it as well. We'll put it right here on the show and appreciate these legends who are indeed our fathers and make a great impact in our lives. But we all know that for that great aspect of fatherhood to be there, and of course, your information at the bottom part of your screen, so make sure you capture that and reach out to us. But back to the conversation. So for that environment that will ensure that you as a father thrive best in fulfilling your responsibilities, in being present for your children, it has to be created by us. Maybe the women in your life, maybe just anyone who's playing a crucial role in ensuring that. How do we create that better environment for fatherhood to thrive better?
I agree with you that fatherhood is not just a single kind of an isolated incidence or an isolated personality. Of course, for a father to be there, there has to be a mother, there has to be, the support system, the society, and all those people that come around. And the environment needs to be right. Remember, back of us, the question about pressure, the pressure that we put on fathers and the expectations that we have on fathers. One, to create that environment, I believe, number one, we need to have realistic expectations of fathers. Now, by maybe you are the mother on the other side, or you are the caregiver on the other side, and then the expectation that you put even in your children about their father, is it realistic? How do you tell your children about their father? That's one way of creating the environment that is conducive for fatherhood to thrive. Now, secondly, is also supporting the father. Whatever they are doing, the father is the end of the family, of course. Whatever they comes up with, these programs or whatever the idea that he has that are meant to improve the life of the family, of course, because fatherhood is beyond the children. It also involves the entire family or the entire unit. Now is supporting. Supporting may mean just being there morally, at times financially, because of course we are living in times when traditionally men used to be the working people, and then the ladies were just staying maybe at home moms. Like myself was brought up by a stay-at-home mom. But when you look at it today, we are living in an environment whereby maybe the mother could be even making more money than the father, which should not be a main issue in the family anyway, because now that brings now the element of support, maybe financially, morally, spiritually, support the fathers, the decisions they come up with, and then on the other end also talk good of the fathers, because it also brings the aspect of respect for fatherhood.
Yeah. So that aspect of fatherhood, in the case that you are going to be a father, but you've not had that background whereby you had that element of good fatherhood, how does it affect how you become a father? And maybe what is your solution, or rather how would you talk to that person mwenye hakupata a good fatherhood but now has to be a dad without having something to look up to?
Great, Aziz. The Swahili says, ukiona vyaelea, vimeundwa. There is a process of making. Fatherhood, just as Samson has said, is not incidental. Yeah. It's a process. And that process might have actually gone through some pains, but some challenges, some hurdles. And at least, there is a fire that has gone on through it. And so what I would like to encourage people who are actually trying, aspiring to be a father, is to get to learn through the process, get to go through the process, get mentorship, align yourself with people who are in the responsibility of a fatherhood. There is no school of being a fatherhood, but life teaches to be fathers. And for that reason, aspire on to have a responsibility, just the way we started. Whenever you're ignoring a responsibility, you're ignoring an opportunity to stand out on a platform that the society gives on to you. You may not actually be able to be in a position to have your own children, but there are all manner of children around. Do you take time to visit a children's home? Do you take time to go and give a motivational speaking on a school somewhere? Do you get some boys on for nyama choma? Do you just speak a word onto them, a reason with them? Those are process of beginning to be a father. Because, fatherhood challenges us. It reflects on who we are. And sometimes it reminds us on the places that we failed. It reminds us on our formative days and how we actually got to be where we are. And so when we get to engage, it begins to sharpen us. It says, as a man sharpens an iron, so a brother sharpens the content of another brother. So whenever we get on interacting in this, we become better into that. So that when we land on that, on our responsibility, we find ourselves on a level playing ground that we can actually be able to thrive from that particular position.
All right, you've talked about responsibility, and you also mentioned the aspect of ignoring responsibility. We live in an era where certain fathers who got their children biologically are not necessarily there, are not necessarily present, or as the popular term says it, deadbeat dads. So how would you approach that conversation of deadbeat dads? Maybe tell them what they're missing on.
First, allow me to hand something on the first question.
Kindly
asked,
do.
And fatherhood, I'll say fatherhood is not taught. It cannot be taught. It can only be learned. Learning it means to commit yourself to learning the process. You can be given a book on how to swim and read it for 3 years, but until you go to the swimming pool,
you will not.
You are just an amateur. So same case with fatherhood. You might be taught so many things, but at the end of the day, it's a learning process, not a teaching process. You can't be taught. So whether you had a good father, a bad father, it's all about you. Set your limits, define your own terms as a father. This is what I want for my children, for my family, and then go out there and do it. You learn along the way. Now, coming back to what I've asked about, we are living in interesting time, of course. When we talk about deadbeat fathers, it's a society, like I said, it's just an evolution of society, because long time ago, men used to carry their own responsibilities, and then to ensure there were systems also in the society to ensure that they carry responsibility. But as we evolve now, you find the society is just disintegrating the formal traditional society as you knew it. So what I would say to anybody out there, you have a child somewhere out there, you have a child out there and you're not taking care of them, is that you're missing out on something great. You're missing on creating a board, developing a person who you don't know how they will be in the future. So you're missing on nurturing, in fact, the next generation. And therefore, you should take the mantle, come back, take care of that child. You never know how they will end at the end of the day, because it just doesn't make sense when you dismiss somebody whose future you have not seen, yet you should be there creating that future.
And maybe as you tell us that, is there a reason, or from a man's perspective, I know you're a great dad and you're taking care of your children, and I applaud you for that. But now for the fathers who are not present in their children's lives, what may be, because every problem has a background to it. There is a trigger that makes it that way. What would make them not want to be part of their children's lives?
Of course, there could be many challenges. One of them that is most, because I've interacted with a number of people, of course, friends and colleagues, and in whatever I do in the corporate training, you talk to so many people. One of them is that they became fathers accidentally. Now, one, I don't believe that there is an accidental child, of course. I normally tell children, I talk to a lot of them, teenagers, and tell them there is no biological accidents in formation of children. But you find some fathers got in there. They were not ready for it. They were not prepared. It's something that happened, and then they have a child somewhere there, and they run away from responsibility. Now, second, it could be an issue of, the marriage breaking apart. You find maybe you are doing good, and then there is separation, and then there are those other issues that comes in, whether legal or social, whatever comes in, and you find somebody has just been separated from their children. And I think the other one, the third, is just outright ignorance. You know, the people just are there, they don't care, outright don't care attitude, kind of. So those are could be the three major things. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what happened for you to be out there away from your children. I believe there is always a time, a second time. So they should consider and think again, going back to the lives of those children, because like I said, you never know what difference your presence could make in that life of that child.
That is very, very deep, as you said it, because your presence in that child's life indeed makes a difference. But if you have a father figure whose presence has made an impact in your life, we're still urging you, why don't you appreciate them just for this one day? As we've been told, at least tungekuwa tuna appreciate Father Zetu every single day, because they are indeed making a positive impact in our lives. But for this one day, si tumeamua kuicelebrate mapema, send us a message. Send us a message telling us who is your father figure, who is your dad, and what do you appreciate about them rather. And also, you can send in a picture, and we'll be putting them up on air so that we can appreciate these great men who make a difference in our lives. But now, to do that, all the information is at the bottom part of your screen. But to echo it, ile teke chop chop, 0115885797 is my call number. You can call in live. Our call lines are open. You can also send us a message via WhatsApp. 0770729366 is my WhatsApp number. Tumenizo maina, appreciate all the amazing men in your life, and we'll be echoing it right here on the show. Pia, tag us across all social media platforms at Ebru TV Kenya, except for Facebook, which is Ebru TV KE, #NewDayKE. You talked about the aspect of nurturing the next generation. So I want to ask you a very interesting question. You're a dad. What has the next generation that you're nurturing ever told you that left you at wow?
I think the next generation, well, we call them the generation Y, they're always asking the reason why. Of course, you know, we grew up in a generation that the fathers are the final say. You know, when they say stand up, you stand up and ask, why did you will ask later, what was I standing up for? But of course, these guys are seated down and you say stand up, and they ask you, why do I stand up? So just they're exposing us into the reasoning elements that we got to dissect and reason and create a level form of understanding on things. This is a generation that want to see you love. They don't want to hear you say you love. So they grow and aspire. You know, they will challenge you. Why are you not loving mom as others do love their mothers? So they want to see you hugging their mom. They want to see you buying gift for their mother. They want to see you doing a lot of things, you know. One time, I opened the car door and, I asked, so you guys are not coming in? So I called the mother with a name and say, hey. So the daughter asked, why are you calling her with the name? Why are you not calling her honey as you always call her? And, so this is a generation that, have to be very dynamic on how you relate with them, because they are very much exposed. The technology has actually exposed them pretty early, but also the environment that they are in actually is trying to shape them. But there are also generations that actually are discovery generation. And that's why to be a father in this generation is very dynamic, because the things that were obscene on the other generation are things that are actually on the dinner table today. And so in element of sexuality, for example, is something that actually has to be discussed right from their early age, based on appropriate level that you're actually discussing them. Because if you do not discuss with them, someone will discuss with them. And so the kind of information you give, because a father is the final say in the life of a young person. And so the only way that they can be able to know the truth is not to tell them how a lie looks like, but to keep exposing them to that truth every other day, that when they hear of a lie, they will say that one is not truth as what the dad has said.
Yeah. You've talked about discussing certain things, and especially in the African society, I know my father would never sit me down and have certain conversations with me. I respect him and I understand why. But now when it comes to those conversations, especially in this generation, you've called them the Generation Y. So each generation, whereby they're exposed to so many things that are beyond your control. How important is it to have that firm relationship between you and your kids so that they can come to you as the first source of information rather than getting it out there?
I think we are living in times that are really challenging, because looking at it the way I was brought up and now the environment that we are in, some of the things that I relate with my children and the question they will ask even at times are some of the things that I couldn't even think to ask when I was, of course, they are very small. My daughter is around 7 years. Aww. But the question that they ask, of course, out of exposure. So what there is put everything on the table at the right time, of course, not at the wrong time. And by this, I mean, first of all, create an environment whereby they can come to you. You know, personally, I grew up in an environment whereby you couldn't question your dad. If he says this is this, it is that, and you can't question. So, but given what they're going through, the exposure that they have at a very early age, number one, you have to create an environment whereby they feel safe and secure to come to you and ask you a question. Because if you don't create that environment, it will be created for them elsewhere, and they will go and ask those things, and at times they will be given wrong answers. So number one, create an environment whereby you can relate with them. They are free to talk to you about everything, about anything regarding their life, their personal life, and regarding also the society as well. Then number two, set boundaries for them as well. You know, exposing the children also, we have a role to play as parents. May it be on the internet, on the gadgets that they're using. Set a limit for them depending on their age, and then expose them appropriately over time. What I mean is this. If I have, for example, have an internet in the house, they have access to maybe laptop, and the TV also has access to the internet and all those things. Of course, I have to restrict to some extent. What can they do? Because, you know, internet is an open source. They can get anything anywhere. So I have to install apps here and there to just restrict their flow, their access, and all these things. And I believe it's very important, because if you miss it at the start, it will get to a point whereby they will challenge you, of course, in the wrong side of the way. So you have to get it right from the beginning, open them up, but then open up them procedurally by ensuring that at the right time they're exposed to the right content, and then you create the environment in that they can come and converse with you about that thing that is disturbing them.
Yeah. So you've talked about getting it right from the beginning. Now, Fred, I want to put you in the corner, Kiasi.
Please go ahead.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So I know, unfortunately, you lost your dad, of which I do pass my heartfelt condolences still.
Great.
And I wish you glad tidings with
you.
regard to you now being a father and taking those skills and molding yourself from what you've seen from your dad. But now I want to ask you a question. When you were a kid, have you ever been in a situation whereby there's something you did wrong and you remember your father seriously disciplined you for it?
Oh, great.
And what was it?
Man, I went wrong in several cases. But of course, what I want to concentrate on the discipline of my father. My father was very compassionate. And so he knew that if he spanked you, you will either be moody about food, moody about things. So my father could say, could guys eat? I have something to talk to you. So he makes sure that when he's spanking you, you're already full. So you not show moods about
Umeshiba
vizuri.
It's very diplomatic.
Yes, very diplomatic. Not like my mother. You know, my mother, anything in the kitchen, could be thrown to you when you do a mistake. So, and if my mother say, come here close, oh, come on, there, go close, because maybe things are bad. But of course, my father was very diplomatic. He loved that wherever the punishment that he gives, there is a reason to it, and there's something that you got to learn from it. But of course, also his ways of correction. Oh, come on, he loved doing these things in Proverbs. And so you're sitting on a tree, or he tells you, come on, let's go cut a tree somewhere, and you showing him how strong you are, and you have an axe, and you're trying to push it on, and he wait for you, you try, and then he say, you know what, this thing is not about how strong you are, it's about how intelligent you are. this thing cut when you're going back, not when you're moving forward. So the reason why the tree is not getting cut is because you're trying to push it with all of your strength, but you just need you to draw it back. Life is about resistance. It's not about how powerful you are. If you cannot resist the pleasure of having sex prematurely, then you will have unwanted babies. And so, it throws on a wisdom, and, you look at, oh, how does cutting a tree and having sex, come on. And, there's just something that he wanted to teach you. Yeah. And, it sticks with you. There are things that he taught me when we either shepherding cattle or walking on the road, and they have stuck with me till today, because the way he brought them was so unique in a way that they stick into my mind, and my heart resonate with them every other time. That, every other time I get an opportunity to talk about it, I always try to have a reference the way my daddy did it.
Mm-hmm. He was a very, very wise man. Now, is yours the same, or how did your father used to punish you when you were a kid?
My case is... No.
Okay.
One thing I will say this is, unlike Fred, I think my case, I never had a very close relationship with my father. Mm-hmm. Growing up and all those things, of course, I never had that kind of close relationship, of course. There were moments, of course, you cause trouble here and there, and you were beaten thoroughly.
What's one example you remember? Because at the end of the day, more often than not, we usually have this mentality that our parents were very, very, very extremely perfect. All our parents were number ones. There was no number last. Like, me nilikuwa number one kuanzia class 1 mpaka vile nilimaliza form 4. Whatever happened after there, we do not understand. But now, what is that one thing that you did?
I think one thing that I can remember is one time in primary school, of course, those are the public primary schools in Ushago, and we were playing with some friends, and there is some sort of grass that is we used to sting each other with. So as you're playing around, I stung another boy, and it just hit somewhere around the eye. And before I got home, he had been told.
Where?
And so when I got home, he was waiting for me. In fact, he didn't let me to get into the compound. You're going home, a crowd of so many boys, and, in the evening, and he really done something on me. In the presence of the rest of, because of course the other pupils couldn't go home, they're laughing and, enjoying the show. So I remember that. But over and above that, again, like I've said, I never had that kind of close relationship or, kind of a person who could sit and ask questions and learn from, of course. But again now, that also has helped me in one way, in that I learned, I think in psychology, you call it reverse psychology. So I looked at my father, what he was doing, all the things he was doing, and I said, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. One example is he was a drunkard. And to date, I don't take alcohol, not because of anything else, but because of how I saw in him. So I said, I can't do that. So I think it also played a critical role in my decisions and in how I'm parenting my children, in that I can look and say, my dad used to respond like this on a situation like this, I don't want to respond like this. Or he never responded like this, so I'd like to respond like this. So I'm kind of a generational change in between my father's style of parenting and, of course, how I like my children parented.
And part of being a generational changer, I want you to change a bit of what's happening in our current generation. In an ideal world, we'd wish that everyone would grow up in that perfect household where everything is so perfect, where their dads are always there 24/7. But unfortunately, not everyone gets that privilege. There's some people who maybe grow up in the same situation as you did, maybe where the dad is analeo sana na mambo kayo, or maybe there's certain vices that are not exposing them to the best of examples. Maybe being a generational changer, how would you speak to that person who's growing up in that type of household to maybe change the game as you did?
Now, one thing is we are not living in isolation. Like maybe your father could not be the best as you could aspire them to be, or they are not there for you, they are not present, or they are doing things in the wrong way, of course. And again, when I say wrong, it's relative again, because I was telling some guys and I told them, at times we think our parents were so tough, or they were so wrong, and by the time we got the essence of how tough they are, or how wrong or right they were, you already have children also thinking you are so wrong, you are so tough, you're in the other side of life. So that is a relative kind of a situation.
And maybe as you do that, because time is not on our side, unfortunately, I'd like you to look at the camera right there. And if you were to write a letter to your dad, 2-sentence letter, what would you tell him?
one great is that I love him. Dad, wherever you are, I know you might not be watching right now, but someone will get to see it, that I love him for bringing us up, being there for us. There were instances whereby things were not good for us, but I appreciate because everything that came along the way has shaped me into who I am today.
Amazing. And last but not least, Fred, as you speak, if you were to write a letter, I know your dad is not around, of which I still apologize for that. If you were to write a letter appreciating your dad in 2 sentences, what would you tell him? Speak as if you were speaking to him right now.
Thank you so much. I think my dad, you've been the greatest mentor that I've known. You've actually taught me to make choices, and you remind me that every choice has a consequence, and so every other choice must be clearly analyzed and put into perspective on what got to be. But of course, more important is that you've told me that life is not about what you are created. Life does not give you what you deserve. Life does not give you what you want, it gives you what you deserve. And so when I walk on life, I know that I got to work to deserve a pay, and I need to make effort so that I can actually deserve an appreciation.
All right.
So it's very important. Thank you so much. And for the dads out there, you are actually meant to create a world that can actually be enjoyable by the people coming along.
Asante sana. And just 3 comments from you who's back at home, who has sent a message to your dads. Kuna mtu anasema, hi Ebru, I'm Harvey from Kisumu. My dad's name is Kenneth Omondi Ojwang. We definitely appreciate him right here on this show. Edgar Mamati, I celebrate my father, Mr. Mamati, who has been very instrumental in nurturing me. Umetutumia mpaka picha yake pale. Tunamu appreciate kabisa. Elimelech Mwao is my daddy. I appreciate him for how he exposes me to the truth of everyday life, and we appreciate him as well. So thank you so much for joining me for the show. Thank you so much to my panelists. You are amazing dads, and thank you very much for being you. Thank you very much for being the amazing fathers that we appreciate right here on the show. To my dad back at home, I appreciate you for making me who I am today. I know most of the traits that I have are definitely inherited from you. I know we look alike, ni height ndo sikupata yako, but I wish I could in the other life. I pray that you may be able to get every single thing that you've worked so hard for. You're an amazing leader, and I pray that the world get to see that and witness that. Asanti sana mzee Hashim pale hivyo nyumbani, my very, very good friend mtu wangu. Shikilia uzito hapo ulipo. It's your girl Aziza Hashim. A happy Father's Day in advance to all the great fathers out there. Good day, and have yourself a lovely weekend ahead.